I love that a little bit before the sound actually stops, we go from this to just for those few seconds so it can pretend like we're human. Welcome back to another episode of the Deductionist podcast, my lords, ladies,
Hello.
and gentle people. How the devil
Hello.
are you, sir? Are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you. Are you?
Oh, they haven't legalized mass murder yet, so I'm still stuck, festering in chairs at the moment. I say
Right.
mass; it's only
We're going to
targeted
get
at one person,
yeah.
really. My mum's just randomly texted me as well. Do I know why the Apple logo has a bite out of it?
Well, do you? Why does the Apple logo have a
Of
bite out of it?
of all the questions you expect my mum, not like you expect my mum, of all the questions I would expect my mum to ask me. Not that you have an open line of conversation with my mum. I don't know what you get up to in your spare time. You might. I don't know.
About Apple Macs.
Have you put her onto this Apple question? Is that what's happening?
Brilliant thing, there is no answer. No one knows what.
No one knows. Steve Jobs is in heaven like this. Or hell, I don't know, depending on your feelings on Steve Jobs, I don't know.
He's on the fence still.
Yeah. Oh dear. So
Oh wow.
I've started looking at Cain's Jawbone. Do you remember that from a couple of months ago? I think it was.
Do show. Yes. Is this the book that was one of the hardest puzzle books
Yeah,
going on the
yeah.
market? On the black
So
market.
on the black market and the I don't know, I feel like anything else that I would say after that, trying to find whatever the opposite of a black market would be, might be considered racist. So I aren't gonna I aren't gonna try and like I aren't gonna explore that any further. I mean, I might pose the question like why exactly why is the criminal market considered black? All right,
Going on.
why is that?
Yeah, we ain't afraid to go there.
Before we get into too much of a tangent, we'd become immediately cancelled at this stage. So yeah, I've started looking at this. It's the world's most fiendishly difficult literary puzzle, and so initially I thought that you just had to solve the 6 murders that were in there.
Okay.
So the rub of it was that you had 100 pages to the story, to the case, that were printed out of order. You had to figure out who the 6 deaths were and who killed them. But not only that as well, you have to reorder the story too, page for page for page for page for page for page. So,
interesting.
Yeah, like
I
started to have a look through they give you like this little breakdown of this little answer sheet where you fill in all of your answers and whatnot. But I like that they give you 3 and a bit lines to explain how you solve the world's most difficult puzzle.
Deuce.
Now,
when you first told me about it, I was wondering how it kind of worked, and I thought, is it one of those choose an option scenario books where it's like you turn left and fall down a hole, or you turn right and find the killer, that kind of thing? And I thought, like, oh, is it like an adventure book type thing? But that looks more complex than I thought it out to be. Well, you said yourself, fiendishly hard.
I know, right? Hello to everyone that's just joining us for the stream as well. Good evening. But yeah, so here's the thing as well. I found out as well, because I was just reading the story. I didn't think about reading like the initial pages and whatnot, because it didn't really matter. I was into solving it. Turns out there is a time frame on this.
What?
There is a time frame. You get till New Year's Eve to solve it. You get till New Year's Eve this year.
What?
And right, so if I said to you, I've created the world's most difficult literary puzzle ever. Since 1934, only 3 people have managed to solve this. There is a cash prize. What do you think the cash prize would be as an equivalence to that kind of prestige?
Christ almighty. I mean, is there a cash prize?
Yeah.
Is it? Ooh. I mean, I'm wondering how much they could actually afford to give away from it. Maybe like 200? Something like that?
Very close, very close. 250 quid.
150 quid? Oh, it's the You Being framework.
That's it, 250 quid in vouchers to spend at the publishing place that makes the book itself. Which I loved. I thought that was great. Initially,
again.
Absolutely. Initially, I was like, 250 quid for all of this work? You can sod off. And then I was like, 250 quid's worth of vouchers? No, I appreciate that. That's sneaky. I like it. No, I'm back in. I'm game. So, like, to add into it all, like, I've got myself a new cube, which is just frustrating. Oh, that looks great. Look at that.
Ooh.
And that's just the green screen part. But you know, it's frustrating. So I spent a lot of the past week thinking about problems, solving some problems, having more problems thrown at me. You know what my life's like.
Solving the problem to make more problems.
Exactly. So I thought it would be intriguing, nigh on just an avalanche of tragedy for us to solve, according to Business Insider India. I was sent it jokingly. I was sent this jokingly. Well, go on, you've solved that. Go on, solve these. It was satirical, but I was like, all right, so let's do it. So this article, this article is called "The 10 Biggest Problems in the World Today, According to Millennials."
Millennial problems.
Yeah.
Right, we've gone down
so
that line.
We fall right into that category. Granted, me right on the outside of it, but still, I'm in there. And they're nowhere near as silly as social engineering would dictate the problems of a millennial would consider them to be, right?
I mean, as all the fun that we make of millennials and the problems that they have, we have, they are quite important these days, because I suppose their problems are necessarily not just of today. They are problems that have always been there, but got irreversibly worse as time goes on.
Yeah,
it's a build-up.
Absolutely, like Metallica would say, it's sad but true.
Pretty huge.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought we'd set some parameters, given that we are exploring the natural world through deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, abductive reasoning. We can't create some kind of... Exactly. We can't create some kind of science fiction reference to make it all up and just solve it and go, yeah, fairy dust, man, it's finished, it's solved, yay, now everyone spells their names on Starbucks cups correctly.
Mate, you've taken my first solution away from me.
I saved the usual fairy dust for your drag act, my friend.
Stop
it. His name is Test Tickle. So the first one that was on here was I say was, like it's vanished. It is a lack of economic opportunity and unemployment. Apparently, this is plaguing 14.2% of us. Now, yeah,
that's a biggie,
isn't it? That's a biggie.
On Trent, and I imagine it's similar a lot of places in England, but it's a big issue here, isn't it? Unemployment.
About 22% of millennials in sub-Saharan Africa are concerned with unemployment and the lack of economic opportunity in the world, compared to just 8.3% of Eurasians. That's not fans of the band from the 80s Eurasia either. That refers to the geographically located area and not the synth rock.
They are a whole different problem.
That's a whole different Eurasia.
Whole different Eurasia.
Absolutely, sir. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to solve that? Where do you think the problems lie? What's at the root of that kind of unemployment line? And bear in mind, we can be as arbitrary about it because we're just hypothesizing. If you think that nuclear winter would solve it all, then that's the answer, right? But I want you to defend said response.
I think the core problem of it all is money, isn't it? There's no money to put into jobs, to generate money, to give back to people. And in a way, we just live in an unfair world like that, where we won't just share that money. I suppose the big and most obvious answer is, and this is something that I've thought of before, I think everybody's thought of it, when you're of a certain age and you're quite naive about how it all works and whatnot, but everyone has just thought, why don't we just share everything? Why don't we just cut in half and take what we don't need, give to the others until it all balances out, until we all have an equal amount of money and whatnot, and then you slowly learn and click into things that it's necessarily
the rose-tinted glasses drop off quite quickly after that kind of effect.
But it still remains. It's where's the money? Money is at the core of all this. I would say we need to find somewhere where we could. I know charities do a fair share of hard work to generate this money for people out there to make jobs. But I suppose, money, resources, that's where it begins.
Yeah.
Where it ends, I wouldn't know.
well, that's the thing. We can only hypothesize based on the kind of information that we've got at the end of the day, right? What we know is that there is which is a deductively reasoned outcome, right? What we know, that's deduction. In the 2 + 2, we can deduce that 4 is coming next. If that's the nature of it. So what we know is there is a trade-off between a lack of money and opportunity and a lack of interest in that particular. Some people are not all. A small percentage comparatively, but you would have to address the concerns that some people are more prone to being lazy. Some people are more, and I'm not even counting into the numbers like the people on genuine benefits or any kind of medical disabilities or anything like that, because you're taken care of. You aren't a factor in the unemployment because you have medical disabilities or you have legitimate reasons to be off or whatever it is. There is a legitimacy that kind of absolves you of inclusion in this kind of equation. So I initially thought that it boiled down to greed.
Yeah.
It just boiled down to greed because, like, I maybe don't know enough about economy for it to be this simple, but I don't understand.
I would agree with you.
Like, because if you think about it, if you just lowered the cost of everything, lowered the cost of everything, that way the rich get richer, so all those egotistical sods are happy. The poor, their money that they have will go further, because everything is able to be purchased for a little bit less. It seems to me like that any kind of profit and loss margin would just drop down in terms of the numbers that are there, the margins that dictate how rich you are or how available you are or how much opportunity that there is only the margin between what you've got left after your bills. Right? That's what it is at the end of the day. So if you lower the cost of absolutely everything, then it seems to tick a lot of boxes on both sides. And the only way I can't understand why that wouldn't work is because people are greedy.
Yeah, definitely. It would take away a certain way of life for some people. Like everybody wants their bit, don't they? Everybody has, if they've got a successful idea or a business, and say they're in the market with competition for that business, they're going to up their game and want more from it and that kind of thing. And we kind of, in a way, sort of that tunnel visioned into seeing that all the time in media and TV. We're watching people live the dream, aren't we? So that thus makes us want to have the dream. We basically are looking for equality within our fundamental financial system that we're in, but we're also looking if we can make a bit of that, we'll make a bit of that. And if there's opportunity to make more of that,
Yeah,
we're definitely going to make way more of that, aren't we? And
absolutely.
you're not going to stop necessarily if you are sitting on a gold mine. I suppose a lot of people would say, like, oh, if you got an idea and you could make all this money by raising the price of it to such and such, eventually over time you're going to start thinking like, unless you've got your ethics in place and your morality there, you're going to think, yeah, I could really become successful off this and just need to change a few things and ask for a bit more. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, how I agree with you there. That sounds like the sort of greed that you're talking about to me.
Yeah.
Is that what you would think?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was trying to think like, uh, if like if you take something that a lot of workers kind of moan about en masse, but in very different ways, from very different reasons, and various different companies, but most people kind of moan about being treated like a number, working a job they hate for not really a lot of money. It's a situation that plagues a lot of people that are fortunate enough to be in work. So then you get that kind of dissonance in your head, like, oh, should I be grateful for having a job when there are so many people that face unemployment and all that, but the job sucks, and there's this kind of two opposing ideas happening at the same time.
Yeah,
When there is more opportunity for what you have to go further, it doesn't make the job aspect any better if you hate your job, but it makes your capability at being productive to be better, because you're getting something a bit more out of it at the end of the day. You're not having to go, well, shit, where's this other penny coming from that I have to rub together to try and create another meal out?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's like it has a knock-on effect in terms of morale, in terms of
yeah,
the culture within a company. If you look at the amount of people that want to go into small business ownership, there's a lot of places around the country that seem to build their kind of livelihoods on small businesses. Like, you've been to places like Whitby and York,
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
places, but it's all these kind of small family owned businesses that have got glorious histories that make wonderful things. If their money
definitely. And
went further, it would grow.
definitely. And when you go out there and you see these places, in a way, they do have quite a lot of success. Like in terms of they're well known, they'll always be highly recommended by everyone. They've probably got like a big name that you might have heard of in that area,
Yeah,
albeit if it's a small area. But usually it's a small business, isn't it? And
yeah,
we kind of like it's those local businesses that I think a lot of people are missing today, aren't they? Like there's
yeah,
not room for that anymore in bigger, more corporate commercial places where the competition just flattens people like that, unfortunately. It's that kind of world we live in. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like an example of something I suppose we've seen because we've worked in an industry together.
yeah, yeah.
Working in that place, it had some owners, some very rich owners that owned it. Of course, owners. I'm explaining myself over too much there. But the problem with that industry is it wasn't well paid. It
No.
was basically your bare minimum. But a lot of
Mm,
people said for what it was, you should be paid more. And
mm.
technically, as a private firm, we could have been. They set their rates. The rich owners would have still been rich. They just would have been a little less richer. And it's sort of we saw that problem firsthand. And yet, at the same time, like I don't know, it really makes me think, like God, if I was in that position, like you say, you go back to that initial thing: a job's a job. Should I be happy I've got a job, especially in today? Like that guilt, like I could be
Exactly.
doing work, could be on the street. There's people begging.
Exactly.
Who am I
Exactly.
to complain? That kind of
E-
thing.
Exactly, and that's the knock-on effect
Yeah.
of growth en masse through a society. I've quoted him a few times since, but I didn't expect something so insightful to come out of Jimmy Carr's face right? I didn't. He was doing like an interview or a discussion or whatever it was, but on his book that came out kind of towards the end of the last lockdown.
Yeah.
And he was saying like some of the problems that most young people face are like, how much money do you want not to live your life? If a job says to you, I want 50, 60 hours a week from you, at the end of the day, I'll give you 35 grand a year. Oh, great. Oh, great. Oh, brilliant. But based on the top of that, they now own you. They own your soul. And that stops a lot of people from wanting more because they kind of face that, they face that dichotomy. If that same 35 grand went further, right? If it went further, there's opportunity. There's opportunity for growth and change. In that area. So I think we've solved that one. What do you reckon?
I definitely think we've solved it. I think we've got a nail on it. Boris, listen up, mate.
Yeah, Boris, back off.
He is out the door as soon as
mate. When I saw that Rishi had quit, and is it Sadiq Khan or Siddiq Khan?
Yeah.
When I saw that them two had been like, but they put in this like, I'm fighting for what I believe is right by quitting.
Yeah. Not really fighting.
How are you doing that? That's like the guys who are in the bar and they're like, yeah, you better watch what you say because what are you doing?
I don't agree with my mate who's about to beat you up, but I have similar feelings. I just want to approach him in a different way, and this way I'm actually proving that point. You've gone, mate.
Baffles me.
Baffle cry.
Baffles me, mate. Baffles me. It does. Here we go. This is an interesting one. By the way, this is a list of 10. I don't think we can solve all of the world's problems in one humble podcast. So I'm only picking a couple. I'm just scrolling. I'm scrolling through, and then whenever like the kind of wheel on the was it Generation Game or Play Your Cards Right? No, it was The Price is Right when they do that and they go. So I'm doing that with this. I'm kind of hitting the wheel on my mouse, letting it scroll down, and then wherever it stops, that's the one I'm going for.
I'm shouting tenable.
So this one is a lack of political freedom and political instability. About 19% of millennials in East Asia and the Pacific are bothered by the lack of political freedom and stability in the world, followed by 18.9% of millennials in Eurasia. Now again, just to qualify, this is an article that was published in India, but their reference statistics are from that neck of the woods. But these are apparently problems that millennials face en masse throughout the globe. Tout le monde.
Le globe.
Indeed, sir.
That's it. That's just my English.
Do you think we suffer from a political, from a lack of political freedom or political instability in the UK?
Yeah, definitely. I think someone, who did I watch a while ago? I was saying someone. It was Russell Brand. I was watching his YouTube series, and he was basically just talking about the fact that we just don't have enough options when it comes to politics. Like a lot of the arguments are, why don't people vote? Why don't the youth of today have more interest in politics? Because it's the same old shiznit. You're just settling for the best option, which he made a good point. You shouldn't have to settle for just because it's, the best of the worst. There's issues with all things. You might think of whatever party has or political group has a certain, like something, or they've got the answer that everyone will have issues, and there's not enough out there to give people enough option, I don't think, to properly be able to decide if they think they know what political agenda should be out there and leading the country and being involved in the government. It's just an unfair system to me. It's you choose one of the, basically choose red, green, yellow, but I want blue. Red, green, yellow.
I don't want those.
Yes. What do you want from me?
Can't we just mix them all together and do finger painting?
Yeah, I made a collage.
How is it then that comedians are becoming less and less funny and more insightful.
I feel like,
They're still funny, obviously. I don't
yeah,
mean that their jokes aren't as funny, but it's becoming
no,
like,
no, yeah. I suppose
holy
they
shit.
call out truth in their humour, don't they? That's the
Yeah,
main thing. Sort of highlight the uglier part of life in a way that we can safely all laugh at it. Like everybody can, like, because there's a lot of people you'll get in a room with a comedian who will be from all different backgrounds, who will have all different political views, yet
yeah.
they'll all laugh the same at a joke from a comedian because at the end of the day, they've made it safe to laugh at the truth. But really, I think there's a lot of comedians today that are actually sort of, nail on the head. They're telling you.
Oh, absolutely. Jonathan
Telling you.
Pye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jonathan Pye. He
Yeah.
started off being hilarious, ranting by the London riverbanks, and then the more you watch him, the more you're going like, holy shit, he's onto something.
I feel like Boris Johnson's tried the same thing, but he's done it all wrong. He's become a not necessarily a comedian.
he look, he
People,
just kind of, you know what, the kind of best way to describe him, if you thought of him as a Muppet who'd been like an actual Muppet, a Jim Henson Muppet, but had been placed into the washing machine and then left outside to dry. That's what he kind of reminds me as, because he's always got this kind of look like,
he went in clear spoken and he came out.
yeah, yeah.
That was basically him during the lockdown speeches, wasn't it? That's you've described him precisely. They must have had a green screen or something.
So the reason I think we've got a lack of political freedom then in this area is because we are faced with the two big boys, the Labours, the Conservatives, and the like. That's really what it boils down to. Those guys, red versus blue. There was I think it was in Canada somewhere. I don't know. I could just be plucking that country out of the air. So fact check me if you want, but I don't know. That was just the first country that popped into my head. Anyway, there was a guy that was sat on his local council board, gigantic beard and a welly on his head.
I want him in power.
I want that guy.
I want him. He looks like
It's exactly, it's the diversity of opinion on these kinds of things. Like every now and again, I'll have a look at the Church of Satan Twitter feed because it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Somebody commented on that, like, trying to back them up. You do know the Church of Satan Twitter doesn't actually believe in Satan. I wonder if there's anyone out there that actually believes in Satan. The Church of Satan Twitter handle commented, Christians.
Oh, fantastic!
Like that's what you get from bringing new stuff in. Whether you're blues and hate the Reds or whether you're Reds and hate the Blues. I mean, who cares, right? What you get is a recycled version of old opinions. What you get is a recycled viewpoint on old situations and products and ordeals. Is there a reason why many of the most popular statistics have only gotten worse? Granted, we've been suffering under the tyranny of the Blues for so long, but even before then, the similar problems were there in terms of the economy and jobs and all of this kind of stuff, and the worry about the NHS and waiting times, blah 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 blah. That's been going on in one form or another for years. Why is that? Why is it just down to the Reds or the Blues? It comes down to, again, for me, ego, and with that comes greed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it goes to, like, your description there matches exactly what happened during lockdown with nurses.
Yeah.
We were clapping for them. We were encouraged to clap for them, and rightly so with what was going on. They were promised a pay rise, which never came. But you got pictures of Boris at the hospital being treated by nurses who saved his life in one way or another there because of possibly he could have passed away with what was going on, like many other people. Yet they saved his life and they got nothing out of it. And again, like I just said, with ego, it's straight down to that, isn't it? Just thinking that in your mind as a leader, they just deserve one of these.
That's it. That's it. I'm not my money. I'm not giving them any of my money.
Yeah,
What?
that's exactly what was going on, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not. I'm not having that.
I'm not having that. Right?
Yeah. Fair play.
Kids, school dinners. The freeloading little shits. They can pay for it themselves.
Get them out of here.
Get
Shove
them
off,
out.
Marcus.
Get them out. Tiny Tim, Oliver Twist on your bike. Granted, your bike's probably not got a seat and you're going to fall down because you've got 3 good legs between you. But, you know what I mean? Who cares? It's greed.
Yeah, precisely. Again, it comes back to what, like you said, greed and ego.
Exactly. And what happens when greed and ego are challenged? You get instability. You get arguments. You get riots on the streets. You get insurrections. Maybe one day we'll go the way of I think it was the Netherlands again. I could just be randomly quoting bits of history. I have no idea. But there was insurrection on the streets. A bunch of the constituents charged the Houses of Parliament, killed and ate their legal official. This was a good few hundred. This was a good few hundred years ago. Bear in mind.
They have killed
No. Well, yeah. If that went on in Amsterdam, there'd be a lack of movement. Everyone must be too stoned. I'm so mad, but I just haven't got the energy to care.
Will you get on my plate, mate, please? Prime Minister burger.
Yeah. So political instability. What we do is we just remove the greed. Done.
Yeah.
We remove the greed, which has a limit on the ego. You can't immediately remove the ego straight away because you get rid of like 90% of politicians in one fell swoop. You got to weed them out. You got to weed them out to make those kinds of changes, and then eventually that goes, and that allows for more opportunity, for different parties to be, to have their say, to have their chance to have their voices heard. They may be terrible, so they'll fade into obscurity. They may be awesome. Either way, the opportunity needs to be there to allow them to do something. How is Russell Brand a voice of reason on this? How?
That is the world we live in when Russell Brand is the voice of reason, because I suppose he speaks like a comedian does in a truthful way, but engage you in a funny sense, in a smart sense, and I suppose knows how to do it in a way that's honest as well. Like it's portraying them. With a lot of politicians, people do find them funny, find them hilarious. Some of the stuff they come out with is comedy gold, but you just don't trust that it's actually them. You just hear agenda. You can't really hear a human being talk in all of that mess and all going on in Parliament. 100%. You might hear a load of chaps booing another chap, but beyond
the Northern
that,
order.
The greatest solution would be, like in one of those big arguments that they have in Parliament where it's all the parties going at each other. Imagine if they just one day stopped and shall we just actually hold on? Shall we just figure out together a way of sorting all this out without it just feeding our own mission?
Absolutely.
Why don't we just step down and sit with each other for a minute and put it on paper? Like, okay,
this is what
you don't want,
and let's listen. Yeah. Dead right, man. Absolutely. Dead right. To say as well, Elrin, I see your comment, my dear, but I think that might be a nice thing to kind of round this out at the end. So we'll come back to that towards the end as well. I've already pre-scrolled for the next one. This is a lack of education, 16.5%. North American millennials, 21.8%, are most concerned with the lack of education around the world. Ironically, there is a lack of education gone into the creation of this article because it's actually written North American millennials are most concerned with lack of education. They missed out that one really important word. Followed by an equal percentage, 19.7%. 21.8 isn't really equal to 19.7%, so I can't help but feel that the writer is speaking ironically here, but I suppose they're kind of making the point of millennials in Europe and Eurasia as well, facing the same thing. Meanwhile, just 7% of millennials in sub-Saharan Africa are concerned with a lack of education. So I suppose the first one here would be, is it actually a concern for a lack of education, or is it a lack of education?
Well, I suppose. See, there's so many different sides to that argument, isn't there? You could
Yeah,
say that education is available, but nobody wants it. You could say that nobody wants it because the education that's available, not the education they want. It's a difficult one, that is, for me. I can't really put my finger, because there's so much
yeah,
in regards to that at the moment. I suppose my view of that is only from what I know and what I've gone
yeah,
out to do and
yeah,
look for as a course or something like that. What, like, I know you've done a lot of courses, and I know you've uh, probably explored that world more than myself. Like, do you feel like there's a lack of
no,
availability for education out there? Do you think there's
no,
plenty?
no. There's definitely a veritable shitload of educational opportunities, but
Yeah.
but like if you take a degree in the UK, just a basic undergraduate BA Hons degree,
Hmm.
you're looking at paying like 9,000 a year.
Comes back to greed, doesn't it?
Right.
Again, it comes
Again,
back.
so you're disenfranchising the youth to kind of seek education. You're hearing more and more to push people towards apprenticeships. Now, apprenticeships, awesome. That's on the job education. You get. I don't know what you get. I've never done an apprenticeship. Like I imagine a craft or a trade or something like that.
Yeah, I imagine, or something like
Yeah,
that, and go on those lines.
yeah.
But the
So you
whole point,
can.
it started like that, didn't it? Like, that's how every country raised itself up, through trade, through
Yeah,
building its structure, and then we widened out,
yeah,
and we made education worth it at one point. But
yeah.
is it worth it anymore for certain things? Like, I
Is
did
it?
film
Yeah,
production in university. Now they're saying you could virtually get what you do on that course for free by just watching YouTube. YouTube tutorials educate you far better than you would necessarily get educated paying all that money going
exactly,
away. So
exactly. That's
it,
see, that's what annoys me as well in terms of the disenfranchising of the youth facing this problem, because like I've got a sufficient level of education behind me, so it doesn't kind of plague me as much, but it's definitely plaguing the kids at the moment.
yeah,
Their opportunity to go and inquire about certain things is very small, because they're either limited by the fact that it costs a lot
yeah,
to be able to do, or it's in the dark regions of in the corner of YouTube somewhere, and you have to be grown enough in your own mind to know what you want, to go after it, to learn, to memorize, to practice, to do whatever you need to. What
yeah.
17-year-old does that?
They want to go out and they want to seek an opportunity from
Yeah,
what you'd think was the educational system, what we
exactly,
have in place, and it's thrown down your throats all the time, isn't it? It's on TV. Go to uni, go to college. It's there all the time, but make it worth it, for fuck's sake. Like, do something with that
exactly.
advertising. If you want your people of your country to
Yeah,
educate themselves and want to go out there and learn and be part of that system, give them something at the end of it. For God's sake, like,
hundred
provide
percent,
them.
mate. Hundred
Definitely.
percent, right? So we're supposed to regrow from the smaller to make sure future generations are looked after and the like. But the real, I like look at Staff's University around here, right? There's a lot of Stoke-on-Trent pride got into it and whatnot. But if you look at and I can't speak for all of them because there are a lot of opportunities out there, so I can only speak for a couple. But the opportunity within a couple of those degrees is like, well, turn up to your lecture if you want, whatever. But at the end of the day, we'll have you for 30 grand's worth of debt.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
And that's just for your course. Never mind any student loans, so you can live and
yeah.
eat.
I think because I went to Wolverhampton, I was told something similar in the first year. You did all your practical work, you did all the theoretical work, and then they basically told you for the next 2 years it's all available on PowerPoint presentations that they've already uploaded to a site. And I'm sorry, like, my money is now on this website that I can access whenever I want. I just slightly feel like I've been undersold.
Yeah.
A
Teach
lot of,
me.
yeah.
Teach me. That's why I'm paying you
Why?
the
Yeah.
economic version of a vein.
Oh, you can go on whenever you want. Yeah, but the whole point is I can turn up to these lectures and you can teach me. So why am I doing half your job? But then again, I suppose like on fighting the other sides, teachers and people in the education system are arguing for more resources. They don't
Agreed.
have, the
Agreed.
funds to courses like media and music and film
Yeah.
do require technology and
Yeah.
practical elements and people
Agreed.
to come in from that employment line, but they just can't afford it.
Agreed.
So they ask you to get your own camera, ask you to go on YouTube.
100%, mate. 100%. And how a teacher's supposed to effectively look after a class of like 30, 35, sometimes 40 people. That's not happening. I'm sorry, but it's not happening, right? These are the problems that all feed into each other. And it comes back to greed and ego. Don't go out and get an education. Go into work right from the second that you leave college and whatnot. You can spend your life giving me the tax that you earn. Right?
Yeah, refund, basically.
Exactly. We're taxed on national insurance. We're taxed on like spare bedrooms at one point in your life. Carrier bags used to be free. Like just these small little things.
Yeah, and it adds up. It sounds trivial, but then it's not when you actually put it into perspective as a number.
Yeah. Oh, we're adding all this tax on so we can help. So we can help rebuild the NHS. Every single working man and woman in the country is game for that. But then Bojo's spending like a couple of grand on some rolls of wallpaper.
It's leadership, isn't it?
Leaders lead from the front. Lead by example. The example we're being set is, fuck it, it'll be all right.
That's it, isn't it? It's like, we can hope for the best. We can do this. We can do that.
Yeah, la. It'll all go away. What do you mean that woman I slept with is pregnant?
Oh no,
that's his prime ministerial regime.
All you get from the politicians is other politicians saying, yes, we agree with the public that this is out of order. They don't agree with us. Do something about it, for God's sake. Who's let that person in charge, and why are they still in charge? Surely there's people that can say you are no longer in charge because you're not very good at being in charge. But it doesn't work like that.
Because you suck. Because you suck. Now, Elrin raises a good point. She says, I missed the first 21 minutes. Did you find a solution to greed and ego?
Yeah, get rid of them. Get rid of greed, won't it? Get greed.
Yeah, get rid of greed, because I think the two are intrinsically linked. If you've got an ego, it leads towards the potentiality for greed. If you are greedy, it leads towards the potentiality for ego. Yeah. Right? So to do that, you've kind of got to track back towards, nature, nurture, and all of those foundational qualities. But the best way that I've found to tackle an ego is to indefatigably ruin anything that they say with cold, hard truisms, without agenda.
That's why comedians are popular.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So, like, what's some of the egocentric stuff that we've seen at some point? So, I once, do you remember DA?
Mm-hmm.
I once had to sit and listen him to rant about why Brexit was the best thing for this country's autonomy, the best thing for this country's sovereignty, and it's the whole stabilisation bollocks that they were peddling at the time. And when you sit there and you say things like, "Oh, it'd be great for the borders because everyone's coming in," and you go, "Okay, where? Where?
Do you know them? Have you met
them? Are you counting them? How are they harming? Because these people work often twice as hard as you for less money. There's a problem with that. Yeah,
he was essentially a hick.
He was a hick, but that's the best way that I've found to target those kinds of things. Like, if there's ever been and I've had it a few times where Maddie said it to me if I want to get or do something that I don't really need or want, or she's done it or that we don't really need or want, or anyone else that I know. You kind of ask that question, like somebody takes something hypothetical and they go, I really want these shoes. You know, they're 250 quid, and I think they look great. I'm like, okay, why? Because they're this, because they're this. Okay, fair enough, right? But why the £250 ones over the £25 ones? What's the difference?
Yeah.
And just cold hard, get right to it. It's the greatest way to try and hold a mirror up to these people. And I'm not saying that they would learn immediately, because greed and ego, they won't. They won't. But the more people that do that, the better suited they would be to try and learn from the reality that they're trying to purport. Erin asking, so how does one rehabilitate misheard?
You put them in an oxygen tank and then you stuff a load of paper in the pipe.
Yeah.
You rehabilitate a scammer herd.
Trying to be polite, you went full in with the name.
People are not in their life support machine.
Yeah, so the thing you'd have to take into account with that is the kind of fluidity of her diagnosis with the personality concerns, because, you know, Dr. Curry was on it as well, and whatever the name of the doctor for her side was, both reflected similar concerns, so you would have to address those areas. And in terms of her egocentricities, like take with the pledging of the money and whatnot, and between the pledging of the money and the donating of the money, you would reference it as things like, well, I pledged all of this money to which, and then you would say things like, well, the interviews that you gave after were about what this money would do for the person in that area and what kind of an effect it would have for the ACLU and whatever the children's hospital was at the time. So what are you doing about that now if you've not actually given the money? Well, I haven't been able to. Okay, so why did you tell them you were going to?
And then they go back to the previous question.
Yeah, and then well, I pledged it, okay, but the pledging doesn't give them anything, so you've provided these people false hope that they've been able to think that they're going to be able to get a treatments or a new building or whatever you do at the ACLU or a children's hospital, I don't know. So, and they've had to go through that because of your pledge. And then just sit there and wait for the answer, as long as you don't react emotionally towards this kind of situation, because then it turns into two stags headbutting each other, and the one with the biggest head in the end will win, which, if you're not headbutting me, because I literally have a big head, is in reference to a big ego. The big ego is going to win every time. So if you're staying there just listening and asking the incisive questions that need to be asked, that will cut right to the heart every single time. It might take a lot longer than others, sure, but it will cut right to the heart of it every single time.
It's a lot like going back to DA when you said, like, asking them straight up certain questions and they just go, wow, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so how did that come to be? But then why does that mean that we can't go out now? It's just sort of, eventually you got to the truth. There was a smile that would appear on his face that kind of gave away he was about to be caught out. But, I was a bit of a dick,
And that's... I wish you all en masse could know who we're on about, so you'd have a reference point to that, because that's a beautiful depiction. It happened far too many times a day, far too many times. But it's that kind of thing. So the next time, like, if you think, take, what's the personification of greed and ego on a general basis?
Boris?
Karens. Right, take Karens.
Yeah.
Or a Kardashian, right? For example, one of the things that annoyed me about the show was I want to say it was Kim, but I only want to say it was Kim because that's the only one I know. But it was one of the Kardashians. They were in some kind of desert resort, with these things on the ocean, and she's whinging because she's dropped $100,000 earring in the ocean. Right? And so I would be saying things like, so why did you drop it? Well, I didn't mean to drop it. Okay, so why were you wearing it swimming? Well, I thought it made me look good. Okay, well, so you were aware of the risk that was in there for swimming? Yeah, no, I wanted to do it. So why are you complaining? You knew the risks. Do you not have $100,000 to spare? Well, no, it's $100,000. Well, if you don't have $100,000 to spare, why are you spending it on earrings?
And taking risks you shouldn't be taking.
Right. all of those kinds of questionable materials, so long as you don't meet them up there at that energy level,
you can say that every contestant on Love Island.
Yeah.
Every time they have an emotional breakdown, well, why have you come on here?
Exactly.
Why have you a TV show that specialises in this? Why are you coming into a show that forces these scenarios on you? You know exactly what's going to happen.
Ellery, thank you for planting an image of Karen Kardashian in my head. I so needed that. Can you imagine her with one of those kind of short bobbed? I hope people get what I'm doing when I do this. Right, but one of them short bobbed hairstyles. Great. Yeah, I'm holding a small plate of food whilst mopping my brow from the wrong side. That's what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
I really hope that there's a secret Kardashian sister called Karen Kardashian.
See, I want there to be a secret Kardashian sister with like just a cavalier, everyday, run-of-the-mill name. Like if there's a bloke, it would just be like Brian Kardashian.
Yeah.
Or Dave Kardashian.
Yeah. Just Kardashian. Maybe there's one that's just called Kardashian.
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 Oh God. I blame Google for it all. Well, I suppose technically it would be Ask Jeeves first.
Yeah.
The search engines, the kind of cyclical logic of, I'll investigate this, but you're just searching up many different reasons that confirm your own stupid point of view, whatever that is. I'm right, and then it doubles down, and then anyway, there it is. Yeah, Elias. That I think that would be an Amish Kardashian. Are we coming out with our own range of toys here? We've got Karen Kardashian, Elias Kardashian, Dave Kardashian.
You can get them all in a Happy Meal coming to you soon.
And the great thing about the Happy Meal is it's quadruple the calories.
Hooray!
Hooray! So there we are, guys. We've what was that, mate? Sorry?
The answer to all millennial problems is get rid of Karens.
Get rid of Karens. Done.
Get rid of Karens.
Like a eugenic wipeout. Get rid.
That sounds like an awesome game show.
When me and Maddie were walking the dogs a good few months ago now, we were walking down and she goes, "Oh, watch the poo." I went, "Worst game ever." on the one side, a warning about somebody that hasn't picked up off their dog, but on the other, I was kind of like, "Oh, well done, Brain. That was actually pretty quick for you. Well done." But to sum up, like if you look at greed and ego, take somebody and there are many figures like this, but take somebody as well known in this world as Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Right. There was facts and figures done on his bank balance in that if they were all stacked as $100 bills, he would have enough to reach space with 2 piles, and then have enough left over to be just taller than Mount Everest. Nobody needs that.
No.
Nobody needs that. And I've said it millions of times. If you've got billions, fine. Have a car for every day of the week. Have a house in every country if you want. Have gold watches and all of that stuff. Do it. Right? If you've worked and earned it, as he has in his own way, do it.
Yeah.
But if you've still got billions left over, then it's your duty to be doing something worthwhile for the world.
All you've got there is paper or data.
Yeah.
That's all you've
That's it.
got there. You're not spending it. Who's it for? For
Yeah.
the love of God. That's all
You
we
build-
designed for things. We didn't design currency for currency.
Exactly. And listen, Elon, your billions don't take away from the fact that you used to be bald. All right, mate. I saw the pictures. It was definitely receding. Huh? Huh? All right.
Well, no.
That's it. Right, guys. We've settled it. We've solved the world problems, and realistically, at this stage, it boils down to en masse, like a pathological wipeout of greed and ego. Greed and egocentricity.
Not to bring it all back around, but I think because of what we've just done and how we've just solved all the issues of the world, someone should pay me. I want your money. I think I should have it. Is that okay? Agreed?
That's it.
I'm full
you can actually pay Adam if you want by subscribing to the channel. Huh? 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 All right.
On you, millennial.
Right, guys, take it easy. Make smart decisions for those around you, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.